Hello and welcome to another Sprues and Brews unboxing. Today we are looking at Cursed City Nemesis, the next and final expansion for Cursed City. So first of all, I just want to say a massive thanks to Games Workshop for sending us a free review copy of Cursed City Nemesis out so we could unbox this and have a bit of a review on the channel. In this video we'll be having a look at the set, see what we get inside, having a look at what additional miniatures you need to buy alongside this expansion, taking a look at all the components and finally seeing, is it worth picking up? One little caveat I need to start with here is that to play Nemesis you need both the core Cursed City game, which I believe you can still currently buy on the Games Workshop website, and the Night Wars expansion, which I think disappeared super quickly. I'm hoping that they do a reprint and by the time this goes out you'll be able to get that expansion too. But in order to play through the full kind of like storyline, you will need that expansion too. So just bear that one in mind. I believe as well this set is going to be exclusive to the Games Workshop web store as well. So I don't think you'll be able to pick it up from independent retailers. But yeah, so some of the bigger ones I think do stock them, but I do believe this is direct only. If it's anything like the last expansion, I suspect this is going to sell out super quickly as well. So if you want it, make sure you're clicking that order button first thing in the morning. But yeah, this is a similar kind of setup to the Night Wars box, where we've got kind of a slimline box filled with components to basically continue the story of Cursed City. So we've got a new quest book in there with all the new missions and stuff, a load of new tokens, we've got cards for the new adversaries. What you don't get in this box are the miniatures to play through with the new adversaries in there. So it says on the back of the box that you would need to pick up a box of Graveguard, a box of Crypt Flayers, a White King, a Necromancer and some Dire Wolves in order to play through this. Now of course you could just proxy this, use existing miniatures in your collection. Also, like we said with the Night Wars set, if you've got a Soulblight Gravelord's army, there's a good chance that you've got a lot of these miniatures too. Like, you know, I've got a Gravelord's army and I've got all these anyway, so that's quite lucky. But obviously, if you do want the full experience, you've got, you know, quite a pile of miniatures there to buy alongside it. So again, just bear that in mind. You don't currently get this in this box. So let's crack it open and see what we do get inside. So similar to Night Wars, we get a set of cards, the book and the tokens. So we'll have a look at the quest book in a little bit because we'll go through, kind of see what happens in the campaign, without any spoilers, but just see kind of how the game plays. And what we're going to do first is just have a look at these components. So we get a new sheet of tokens. Now what you don't get in this one is any new rooms. You get these tokens to represent, I forget what they're called in the world, but these are the pits that are opening up in Shaiish. So they're used for that. You also get a new sheet of tokens as well, with all your kind of like leveled abilities and the various markers and stuff to depict stuff that's happening during the game. So quite light token sheet on this one. Then you also get a pack with all the kind of card components too. So if we crack this open, we get new encounter cards with all the various new encounters for those miniatures that we mentioned earlier. We get the new kind of leveled abilities for all of the classes as well. So obviously we'll cover this when we get to the book. If you played Night Wars, similar concept, that basically there are additional levels that your heroes can get to get stronger to fight the adversaries in this box. We also get a nice little card that shows the progress of the quest, basically shows the stages that have been completed so far and the calamity level, and then the ascension level on the other side as well. So again, we'll see how those work when we get to the rules. And then we also get the stat cards for the new monsters as well. Obviously these aren't in the box, but you get the stat cards to use the Vargheists, both their standard and their inspired side. The White King. We get Graveguard. I really wish we had new Graveguard models that looked like the Warhammer Underworld's Warband. I think that'd be really cool. From the fact that these are printed with the old ones, maybe not something that we get in the near future. Dire Wolves. And we get the Necromancer. So what we'll do now is have a look through the Cursed City Nemesis rulebook and see what happens during this adventure. So let's delve into the Cursed City quest book to see what is inside. So if you've played through the Night Wars expansion, it's pretty similar format here really. You get the new kind of quest in here, all the continuing storyline and the new missions and all the rules that kind of interact with that as well. So first of all, we get a kind of an advancement of the lore so far. I don't want to spoil too much going through this review because there's a lot of cool stuff that happens, but essentially things aren't looking great for Ulfenkarn. The entire city is slowly getting poured into the Shaish Nadir. Basically the giant pits are opening up, the stuff's getting kind of poured into oblivion, and things are looking pretty bad for Ulfenkarn. At this point, it cannot be saved. The final kind of like holdout for the survivors is Haven, the settlement that we visited in the previous expansion. And yeah, things aren't looking great for the party. However, the party gets a letter from a mysterious benefactor who reveals that somewhere within the city is a realm gate, and using that the heroes could escape the city, potentially make a strike against Radukar himself. And so this kind of quest opens up with the adventurers going back into Ulfenkarn as it's slowly getting devoured to try and find some clues relating to where this realm gate is, and then kind of, yeah, everything that happened since then. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it too much, but there's some really, really cool stuff. So we start with some lore about that, kind of setting the scene, and basically going through everything that's in the box that we've just looked at just now, along with some painted images of all the new adversaries that you'll be facing. And yeah, it's bad times for Ulfenkarn. Even though the city, the city's been defended by the adventurers over the course of the core game, and the Night Wars expansion and the vampire threat has been stopped, really that's set up Radukar to now be kind of unrivaled. We've inadvertently set up Radukar to be kind of the undisputed king of, Ulfenkarn. He can do what he pleases. He's had enough of it. He's destroying it. There's no longer these other vampires that are vying for his power. So yeah, not looking great. Going on to the rules point of view, like I said, this continues on from Night Wars. So you play through the original box expansion, basically aiming to get your characters to level 5. You play through the Night Wars expansion, aiming to get you to Paragon level 3. So you're essentially level 8 by the time you start this expansion. And this is the kind of final showdown. This is the kind of, I guess, the final move against Radukar. Tougher enemies, tougher missions, and seeing if you guys can actually win this impossible fight on your hand. New characters are introduced, new monsters are introduced that we've seen. Some of the things that happen within the rules will kind of alter as you go through the campaign. To start with, you try to find these fragments of a map that can be obtained by interrogating Bloodborne. Now this brings a new mechanic into the game where there's some actions that have a value higher than any face on the dice. So you've got to use combinations of multiple dice in order to do the action. So for example, a 13 plus action, you need to spend a 6, a 6 and a 1 in order to do it. And obviously you can use Destiny dice for that as well, but there's a lot more resource heavy actions in this one. So you're going to have to plan kind of what your team does and how they interact with the mission, meaning that if you've got a tough fight, you're going to have to potentially have someone sit out of it because they need to use all their dice to do one of these tougher actions. So again, adds another kind of tactical element to it. Now we start off trying to get these Bloodborne, and the Nemesis journey starts in a similar way to the original Cursed City, where you've got a calamity tracker. Once that hits 10, the game's over. So you've got to manage that resource. Depending on the missions that you play, that will go up or down. And basically you've got 3 different flavours of missions. You've got your interrogations, your secure missions, and your scavenge missions. We'll see how those work in a little bit, but essentially they will increase or reduce that calamity level. They'll give you access to interrogate these Bloodborne, or give you a way of getting more gear and looting, kind of getting ready to fight these tougher adversaries. So you're going to have to do all 3, and it's a case of kind of balancing that calamity tracker so you don't fail a mission but you get all the stuff that you need. New stuff that's introduced in the game, we have got sinkholes. So these are using the tokens in the box, and they basically represent where the city is getting consumed by this kind of calamitous event that's happening. So these will pop up, they'll be on the maps where they go. Things adjacent to it, well, heroes adjacent to it even, take additional damage when they're damaged next to it. So that makes them really kind of dangerous points on the battlefield. In addition, some hostile enemies will potentially get auto-slain as well if they're standing next to it. So it can be a benefit, but it's also a hindrance for your characters, and bad stuff can happen. Huge hostiles, giant hostiles, Vargeist, Fellbats and Bat Swarms are unaffected by it because they can just kind of walk over it or fly over it. It's really your heroes, you're going to have to be careful where you position them. While it might consume a couple of zombies or skeletons, you don't want to be taking extra damage on your heroes, especially when you're fighting some of the tougher stuff in here as well. So yeah, it's really cool. Like with the previous expansion, we've got some new extraction events as well, and we've also got some new Paragon classes too. So once you hit your maximum Paragon class from Night Wars, so you get to level 3 in that, you unlock another Paragon class. And again, each class has got 2 classes to pick from. In the previous review, I kind of described it as a bit like kind of class specializations in, role-playing games and stuff. So you can really kind of tool out your character differently depending on which of the 2 that you pick for each hero. And again, that gives you a bit of replayability as well, kind of combined with the ones from the Night Wars expansion. You've got quite a few different routes you can take to kind of level your character, so to speak. And these work the same way. You level up through those, and that's a way of kind of gaining additional levels through this expansion as well. The settlement of Haven has also expanded, as this has become like the last refuge of the kind of humans in the city. A few more things have popped up for you to interact with too. So again, in the same way as from the Night Wars expansion, you can go and visit those between games, and you can get various benefits or kind of chance something happening. So that's all really cool too. So going on to the 3 initial kind of journeys that you've got Scavenge Journeys. These increase your calamity by 2 each time you do them. However, by doing them, you've got a way of getting experience to level up your heroes, and also there's lots of kind of mysterious objects for you to interact with, for you to try and get lots of loot as well, because you're probably going to want to be fully geared up by the time you finish this this adventure too. So yeah, while it increases your calamity, that loot is going to be important to you, so you're going to want to run these. And of course you get the experience as well, so you're getting your characters leveled up. For them, we get 8 different maps, which is nice. You get a nice assortment to play through there. The second type of mission that we've got are the Interrogation Journeys. So this is where you're basically trying to find these Bloodborne and interrogate them to try and find a map piece to reveal the location of the Realm Gate. The way this works, you've got a new interrogate action. It's a 13 plus action, and basically you roll the Destiny dice, is it called? The Quest dice, sorry, and add the number of wounds suffered by the Bloodborne. If your total is 8 or more, you've successfully interrogated and destroyed it, and your tracker goes up by 1. Once the tracker gets to 6, you've completed the quest. So you're going to have to do that, numerous times as you're fighting through the Bloodborne here. Every time that you have an encounter group that doesn't have a Bloodborne's added to that group as well. So if you think about some of the nasty cards you can pull and a Bloodborne on top of it, you're going to have to be fighting off waves of monsters while getting one of your heroes to try and do that interrogate on them, which on a bad roll could use a whole chunk of your dice to do that. Obviously you get your experience as well from doing this, but it also increases the calamity tracker by 2 as well. So like with the previous ones, you want to get some gear and you want to interrogate these guys to try and find the location, but obviously your calamity is rocketing up while you're doing this. So how do you reduce your calamity, you might ask? Well, that's with the 3rd type of mission, and they are secure journeys. So these are basically used as a way of managing that calamity tracker. Like I say, once it hits 10, the game's over, so you really need to keep on top of this. If you complete the adventure, you reduce your calamity by 1, which is great, but it's only 1, so you might need to run a couple of these to get that calamity tracker down. If you fail it, the calamity increases by 2, so if things start going wrong in this expansion, things may end real quick, so you're going to have to try and keep on top of that. So, I don't know, run a mission, then run a couple of secure journeys in order to get that tracker down, then go and interrogate a Bloodborne, run a couple of secure journeys. Because of this, I think it's a shame that there's only 4 maps here. I'd have liked to have seen some more, because you're probably going to be playing far more of these than the other ones. You could try and take a punt and just running through and doing 4 back-to-back interrogation missions, but that leaves you kind of very high on the calamity tracker, so you're going to have to run a few of these to reduce it. So yeah, similar to how the kind of mechanics worked in the first game. Now once that's kind of complete, I'll just quickly flick through the crises so we don't reveal any spoilers here. We get a couple of like bespoke missions that you run one after the other. So these are very story based, they've got kind of a fixed layout and a bit of an event that's happening. Once you've played through these missions, you find the location of the realm gate, and stuff happens. I'm not going into too much because I don't want to spoil it, but basically you'll have to go through again on another similar series of missions to try and find something else after that. So again, you have a similar mechanic where you're trying to find pieces and you've got a resource to track against. So kind of like another quest chain of them. So that's the more kind of like grindy half of the campaign. And you know, some people enjoy. I enjoy playing through those kind of missions. Where it gets really fun is once you've completed that quest chain, we then get onto like the grand finale, which is a string of 7 kind of like bespoke cinematic themed missions that you play through, telling the story of how the band of adventurers fights back against Radikar. And there's loads of cool stuff that happens in these that, again, I don't want to kind of go into too much because it kind of spoils the adventure for anyone playing it. So if you are interested, you can pause now and have a nosy and spoil yourself. But yeah, it's quite cool and cinematic. I like that they've done this. All culminating, of course, in the big battle against the big boss himself, Radikar. So yeah, you finally get to fight him in his full boss mode and basically fight to kind of find out what happens. At the end of this mission, either you've completed the entirety of Cursed City, and this is from what's written in the quest extract when you do win it, very much the end of this storyline, or of course you fail and you can kind of, I guess, try again and level up with a new party of adventurers. But yeah, really, really fun. And obviously in the back we get our updated kind of crisis as well. They're all in here again. Obviously don't want to try and spoil those too much because some of them are lots and lots of fun. So yeah, so that is a run through Cursed City Nemesis. Really, really like the Cursed City game. It's kind of a shame that this kind of like completes this story arc for it. All of this stuff is kind of like dated last year. So I expect that the original kind of like intent for this release was that the box game had come out and then the various expansions had come out following that, all within the same year, perhaps in the same way that kind of Kill Team and Warcry do releases every quarter, and that would have been really cool. It's kind of a shame that it's obviously been delayed a year and we've had these, you know, quite some time after the core game. It does beg the question, were they maybe going towards some kind of like annual or biannual release for Warhammer Quest? Could we see a new Warhammer Quest game come out next year with a new story and a new setting? Obviously we had Blackstone Fortress previously, which was super popular, so I do wonder if we'd maybe get a Blackstone, a kind of Warhammer Quest 40k game tying into the events of the Arcs of Omen. Maybe that'd be really, really fun. Or if there is a new edition come in, tie it into that perhaps. Or do we kind of, maybe, with the old world on the horizon, we go classic Warhammer Quest with the popularity of Hero Quest? It wouldn't surprise me if they did that. It's a nice kind of like gateway into Warhammer Fantasy as well. If they did do an old world themed Warhammer Quest, I imagine a lot of people would be, well, I'd be flying off the shelves if they did one, because I know a lot of people would be very excited to play that. Obviously this is all speculation. Don't know what's coming in the future. I've got to say, I really enjoyed Cursed City, and both the expansions are sizable expansions. If you see them from the look through from the book, there's a lot of missions to play through, and then once you get through the more traditional kind of Cursed City bit, you've got that cool like 7 mission kind of story arc that kind of wraps things up, which is really cool because it means there's a bit more structure and a bit more mentioned in our written review, it feels more like an RPG with these kind of bespoke missions that you're fighting through rather than random maps. It feels like a crafted story that you're working to get to the end, so that's really, really nice to see. Obviously, we mentioned in the previous review about the model situation. I think off the top of my head, it's about £117 to buy all the miniatures that are needed in this expansion. Now, a lot of people, if they've got Gravelord's armies, they will already have those miniatures. Again, a lot of people play through these using proxies as well, or tokens maybe. For me personally, the models are part of the appeal. I enjoy that side of it. I enjoy kind of building and painting the models, so I'd always use them. I do kind of, personally, and I've got a good sword like Gravelord's army, but personally I'd like to have seen these at maybe a higher price point, but packaged with the miniatures, but get the miniatures at a discount. So if these were at a similar price to a start collecting box maybe, and had all that stuff bundled in there, that'd be a quite good buy, in my opinion, and that would maybe get more people on board. Now obviously, I guess the issue with Cursed City has been the card components, presumably, from the fact that it disappeared from the shelves. So having a discount Gravelord's box with all the Cursed City bits in there, people might buy it for that and not use the card bits. I don't know what the idea was. It'd be interesting to see how Games Workshop go forwards if future expansions are kind of in this kind of format, where you get the big box set with all the miniatures and stuff, and then followed up by a couple of basically card and paper based expansions, and you buy the miniatures that you want yourself. There's arguments to both sides, pros and cons to both. I'm quite lucky in the position that I've already got an army I can draw from, but not everybody's got that. But with Cursed City being suitably, undead themed, there are other alternatives you can use. That said, the GW models are really, really nice for it. So yeah, it kind of depends on your situation. £117 is a lot to drop for an expansion to a board game, though I've seen Kickstarters for other board games a lot more than that too. So again, there's arguments on both sides. It's fun. That's all that matters. Obviously, the way that you play through it and what miniatures you use, that's kind of down to you. In a way, it's quite good that without the miniatures, it's a relatively low price point to get the box, and it's a big meaty quest to get through as well, which is really, really fun. The other bit, I guess, is availability. I hope that they reprint this and they reprint Night Wars, because you've got the situation where if any of those elements are kind of out of stock or no longer available, people new to it can't pick up the full experience, which is a shame. Unless, of course, they do a big kind of Cursed City big box with the core game, both the expansions and all the miniatures. That seems less likely to me, but you never know. It's the kind of thing that you could maybe see like a year after release for people who've maybe missed out, and then you kind of jump into it at a low price point. But then again, it's another product on the shelves, so I don't think we'd see that, but it would be cool. So yeah, it's a really cool game. I'm looking forward to playing this through from the start and kind of experiencing the full Cursed City experience. To me, that's going to be really, really exciting. So yeah, let us know if you play Cursed City in the comments. Have you enjoyed it? Did you prefer Blackstone Fortress? What are your thoughts on the future of Cursed City as well? I'd love to know what kind of themes people would like to play through. Could we see a Warhammer Quest within the Narwood maybe and tied into the current storyline of the game? Something cool like that. Could we go Horus Heresy and have like a heresy themed Warhammer Quest, which we kind of got in some of the early Heresy box games? But yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this review. We do lots of unboxings and painting videos and playthroughs. I do want to do some Cursed City playthroughs on the channel as well soon, so we've got the new studio set up. We'll be able to play some potentially streamed live games in here as well. We'll work out the logistics of it, but we'll share it over on spruesandbrews.com once we've worked out how exactly we want to do that, but they will be coming. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, why not subscribe? We've also got the website spruesandbrews.com, the podcast, all that fun stuff. Stay tuned, we'll have loads of cool stuff coming soon. But until next time, have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon.